So Andre Drummond, who was our backup five last year, was part of the Simmons trade. This past week, he posted on Instagram a story of an image of the top 10 rebounding games for Sixers this past year. Drummond had 4 of the 5 top rebounding games for the Sixers last year. In the post, he said, "I'm the best to ever do it." And this is the second time he's publicly referred to himself as the best rebounder of all time. That's, I'm assuming, he's referring to, because the only other time he's referred to himself as the best was calling himself the best rebounder a couple of years ago in, I think, 2019. So that's, everyone's assuming he's talking about being the best rebounder of all time, not the best ever to do it. But so obviously when he's reposting Sixers stats, a lot of people talking online, everyone's saying that Drummond wants to come back to Philadelphia. It was the most fun he ever had, being not the main guy, but coming in for cleanup duty. But I know there's also a lot of Charles Bassey and Paul Reed truthers out there in the Sixers world, but is it realistic to see Drummond rejoining the Sixers on a similar deal?
I think it's realistic if he have amount of success that he had there, and if he's willing to still stay in that role, man, yeah, I think it can happen. I mean, I'm not sure how the numbers will work out or what would be needed, but what he provided is definitely needed.
I don't think he'll sign the same deal he did last year. You got him on a crazy discount, because I don't think after that Lakers playoffs run, the stock was down on him big time. Could we possibly get him for the BAE at $4 million? Maybe. It just depends on his market, really. I mean, he did have a good time in Philly. He really fit in. He absolutely killed that role. So maybe he wants to replicate that success, showing the world he's the best ever, back up Embiid yet again. But it comes down to signing him or a two-way wing. I mean, for the same price, we just disagreed on that. But I also think we can get another Drummond type player. We did it with Dwight the year before. We did it with Drummond.
Tony Bradley.
We tried it with DeAndre, but I just think DeAndre was too far removed from being that guy, where Dwight was still good up until the year we got him. And same with Drummond too. Even though he had a bad playoffs, they were still the same players, more or less, just a watered down version. Jordan looked pretty washed, unfortunately. So I think we can get one. It's not the big man league it once was, so I'm sure there will be plenty of guys that are looking for that kind of opportunity, and guys have thrived backing up Embiid in the short spurt. So maybe there's another guy that wants to boost his stock like Drummond did on a 1-year deal and tear it up behind Embiid. But yeah, I would welcome him back. He was great. He was great for us in that role.
Eric, in the last segment where you said getting a big man for MB just in case he goes down, would Drummond fit that mold? Would he be the one you'd be talking about, or no?
Yeah, he fits that role. I mean, I still think if he comes in, either Niang or someone that still has to fill that role of, having another bigger guy that can stretch the court. So I still think you need to make sure that that's addressed, because, that's not something that Drummond brings to the table.
Yeah. And we talked about this last week too, like, not to say he's the target, but Kevin Love's a good example of that kind of guy you're talking about, right? A guy who could play 4 next to Embiid and also fill in for like small ball 5 when Embiid can't play.
Yeah, so if Kevin becomes a free agent, he'll have a big list of teams that'll be going after him.
Yeah. That's why we'd probably have to do that, like some kind of variation of a Tobias trade. And I've heard they're interested in Cleveland, so never know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of 5s, man. I know, we
tried that with Horford, though, and that didn't work, by the way. The whole, he could play next to Embiid, but when Embiid's out, put him at 5, and there you go. That didn't work with Horford. And I thought it would. I liked that idea when they did that. I was like, okay, I get what they're doing. Play next to him, and then he can fill in for him so Embiid doesn't have to play 82 games. Oh, that's a good idea. Didn't exactly work.
Yeah, he turned back the clock this year, though.
Yeah, he was saving it all for he Dr. Strange told him the future, and he knew he was going to play over the Boston in 2 years. He wanted to save his legs. That's what happened. And also, Tobias works better as a 4 than the 3. That's also what hurt too. So when Horford went to 4,
it was more than just Al there. It was other things also.
Yeah, no, there were. That was a disastrous year period. But Tobias was out of position at 3. Horford played 4, Embiid 5, and Horford just had a bad shooting year. So, I mean, in order to play that 4 next to Embiid, you got to be able to hit those open jumpers. He's doing it now, but he wasn't doing it that year. That was one of his worst shooting years in a while.
Yeah, and some of the names that came up as far as having a backup 5 potential was Tony Bradley, who we actually had that year. We had Dwight. Remember when Embiid was out, Bradley actually started, and Howard still remained as the backup 5.
Yep.
And I believe Tony Bradley's a free agent, and also Dwayne Dedman, who actually looked pretty good in the series against us, because he can actually step back and make some jumpers.
Yeah. Some people also brought up, I think it was Brian Toberek. He wrote an article saying, keep an eye out for, no, I know, it was Keith Smith. Keith Smith wrote an article saying, keep an eye out for a Tobias Harris trade to OKC, more of a salary dump, but to get back Derek Favors to at least plug one hole to be the backup 5 for Embiid. And then you use that money to, go toward other things you want to do at 3 and 4. Again, I think that's after you come up empty looking for stars, but I see what he's doing there,
Derek Favors will be a bad backup 5.
Yeah, but would you be happy if you went to Twitter and you saw Sixers complete a trade to send Tobias Harris for Derek Favors? I mean, I'm not talking Favors. Favors would be a very good backup 5, and he's expiring $10 million contract. That's cool. But I'm asking you, would you be happy if you clicked that link and that's what it was?
No, but I mean, you obviously know more moves are coming because of that. Because I mean, you're emptying that.
That's a very mature answer. I like that. 90% of the Philadelphia city, though, would not have that mature answer.
They'll burn it down, man. They'll burn it down.
Man,
oh my god.
They would not do them any favors. Let me put it that way. Okay.
No.
That's funny.